Media Center Ukraine Odesa continues its work today, and now we are going to discuss the agriculture sector of the Odesa region. Our speaker is Alla Stoyanova, Director of the Regional Agriculture Department of the Odesa Regional Military Administration. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. Let's start with some statistics describing the situation in the Odesa region with regard to the full-scale war in Ukraine. Good afternoon. Today we are going to discuss war and money and how agrarians survive. We are trying to be positive in this situation. How do they survive and how they manage to develop their production, how they deal with the financial system of the state and with the state and donor support. And we need to survive. We need to be strong. We need to ensure stable economic development in the region. I can say that the Ukrainian banking system not only survived after the full-scale invasion and the fierce enemy attack, but it continues to increase the volume of financing. I can say that now we have a strong support both at the state and international level. Since the beginning of 2023, more than 10,000 Ukrainian agricultural enterprises have received around 50 billion hryvnias for the development of their enterprises. In this program, the biggest lump is covered by the state program Affordable Loans 579. Almost 8,000 enterprises were financed under this program to the amount of almost 30 billion hryvnias. Odesa is on the third place when it comes to utilizing the program Affordable Loans 579, and in Odesa it's almost 3 billion. The first place is occupied by Kirovohrad region, 3.5 billion, then Vinnytsia, 3.5 billion. The amount of credit funds raised by agricultural producers in the Odesa region under all crediting programs decreased last week by 450 billion. And when it comes to the Affordable Loans 579 program, it is by 9%. This means that alternative export routes are efficient and agrarians can export their grain and can get money for the development of their enterprises. As for the guarantee portfolio, we have 1.6 billion hryvnias, which is 17.6% from the corresponding indicator for the past week. The interest rate is around 5.79%. 30% is the maximum interest rate, and the minimum one is 0.01%. This means that the agrarian sector has access to such cheap amount. What does this rate depend on? On the consumption of the loan by the enterprise and the availability of labor. If the enterprise is able to employ from 2.7 new employees, the enterprise can apply to the bank to decrease the interest rate. And what are alternative ways to finance and support the agrarian sector if it's not through the loans? Today, we have a very powerful support from the state to the amount 1.2 billion for the development of horticulture, beekeeping, viticulture, to support the modernization of irrigation systems. You know that Ukraine has been undergoing the irrigation systems, and the water users can get support from the state budget that envisages 200 million hryvnias for this year. As for the grant programs, labor is very rather successful. 250,000 hryvnias for individual business. Everyone could develop a design to start its own business. This is the state-supported program. The money can be spent to buy equipment, to pay for the rent, to get marketing services, etc. But the users of such grant should create at least one job. There is some other grants for processing. A person can get up to 8 million hryvnias for the development of enterprise, but should also employ up to 20%. The next program, Your Own Garden, for the development of horticulture. That covers such products as berries, grapes, up to 25, from 1 to 25 hectares. The information about all programs is provided in DIA app or on the website of our department, and also in our specialized groups. There is one more grant, which is called Own Greenhouse, which is a new one. Every legal entity can involve up to 7 million hryvnias for the development. I believe that this is a very interesting grant because there is a red project for the greenhouse. Which is provided by the system, and the system can calculate your specific project with your specific numbers. We inform the agricultural sector about these opportunities, and the agriculture department quite often publishes this information in its social media, on its website, and also informs through a regular meeting about the possibilities to support agrarians in our difficult times. A small clarification. What are the reasons for refusal to provide financial support to farmers? Agrarians have learned how to work with all types of financial programs, including loans, grants, or donor support. The state policy boosts the process. Due to digital transformation of the sector, support is provided through the State Agrarian Register, which is an electronic platform. And any type of legal entity can register at this platform to get an account, to be aware of the possible programs. The enterprises should upload information about the type of activities, land plots, employees, if it's exporting or exporting activity, if it's a producer or processor. So all this information can be stated through that platform. And when Ukraine gets international support, this information is directly reflected in the account. And the responsible person of the enterprise can get information about all proposals that are suitable for the conditions of the specific farm or enterprise. Because when support is provided, there are some conditions. For example, it could be for the enterprises cultivating from 1 to 500 hectares. For example, this could be support from USAID Agro or FAO. All categories of producers can get directly this information through their accounts on the platform. They can also download apps for Android or iOS smartphones to get updated information about possible programs for the development of their enterprises. USAID Agro has been implementing a big range of different financial programs, like co-financing of projects to support the processes of grain, oil, and leguminous crops. This program aims to improve the access of small producers of agricultural products to facilities for processing or finishing grain, oil, and leguminous crops into food for the industrial products. They provide up to 367 million hryvnias in the form of co-financing in the framework of 20 projects. The implementation period is for 2 years. It is expected that the amount of each sub-grant will be from 10 to 36 million hryvnias. There are 3 more programs through the USAID Agro. One of them is aimed at the development of rural areas. This is the services for agro MSMEs. This program gets applications until the 13th of October this year, and it is planned to provide up to 8 sub-grants for a total amount of 122 billion hryvnias. It is expected that the amount of each sub-grant will not exceed 18 million hryvnias. The next USAID program is Competitive Economy of Ukraine. The program provides possibilities to Ukrainian processing SMEs, privately owned enterprises, to support innovative transformation and development. The budget of the grant application is up from $75,000, and the last program provided by the USAID is the educational grant program, which is called Mitsnist, or Strength. It was created to support and restore businesses of the people suffering because of the full-scale invasion in Odesa, Kharkiv, and Dnipropetrovsk regions. Based on the results of the program, the own business recovery strategy could be developed. 20 of the most progressive project participants will be selected, and they would be able to get up to 3,000 USD for the development of this area. And reconstruction of the economy of the agrarian sector is the foundation for our victory. I would like to use this possibility to tell everyone that if you have your own business, please use all opportunities to keep it safe and to strengthen it. If you work at an enterprise, please work for the development of our country, and to all of us are the part of the economic agrarian front. The state needs all of us. And you're our home front supporting these armed forces of Ukraine. And I believe that only together we will be able to win. Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. Those farmers who cannot pay for loans under the program Affordable Loans 579, how can they be supported by the state, or are they left on their own? The state support that I've mentioned, 1.2 billion hryvnias, could be used by all types of enterprises, small-sized and medium-sized and big enterprises. And now we can see the trend of establishing of small-sized enterprises that could also use grant funds for their development. The sector is also covered by the state. Dear colleagues, do you have any questions? Please introduce yourself. And till we are waiting for the mic to be unmuted, I have one more question to you. In June, if I'm not mistaken, the Verkhovna Rada voted for the first reading of the draft law for the donor support of the agrarian sector by the foreign companies. Now we, as you can see, the birth of a very powerful tool to involve international donor support and investments. Now we are facing the active discussion of these possibilities, and this envisages that the investors coming to Ukraine could get guarantees from the state for their development. And they will be also get guarantees that they will be able to get return on their investments. So this is a very powerful project. And our department has been preparing an investment passport for the agrarian sector of the Odesa region. And I think that in 2-3 weeks we will be able to announce it. And we'll be also able to share details about the regulations for the international donor support. Because now we have a lot of amendments, and we should finalize everything. Everything should be thoroughly discussed, and then we'll be able to present our position and results. So international companies will provide loans. So that support will be not free of charge. So they provide funds, and they expect for them to be returned. Nowadays, investors are interested in several areas. Some of them are interested in money, others are interested in their reputation and image. And today, when investors come to Ukraine, get to the Ukrainian market, some investors will not risk to invest their money to support Ukraine. And those investors that we can see today in the Odesa region are very powerful. They are open just to support Ukraine, not only with money, but also with their knowledge, personnel, technologies. For example, Turkey, Israel, Spain are ready to share their technologies to help Ukraine to be strong, to survive, and to strengthen our economy. So they're ready to support both with technologies and money. Evgeny Kogan, 10 Press. Before the war, the harvesting campaign also envisaged the provision of loans by banks. You have not mentioned banks today. You've mentioned only interest rates. Do agrarians still ask banks to provide loans, and do banks provide loans to them? The programs that I've mentioned today are implemented through our banks, mostly through our state banks like Ukrenksim, Privatbank, and Oshadbank. These are the leading banks in our country. And at the beginning of the implementation of these programs, they just worked outside their working hours. And today, through these banks, I can see that 49 billions of hryvnias have been consumed through loans, and the interest rate is from 0.01%, depending on subsidies that the companies could get, and depending also on the companies that are forbidden to get access to such loans, then the interest rate will be up to 30%. Like the companies producing alcohol beverages, they cannot get these affordable loans. They can use other rates, but other companies can get access to these programs. In August, the loan was voted in the second reading in the framework of the reforming viticulture and wine production, and the new law for small-sized wine growers and wine producers. The processors of grapes can get the state support and also these affordable banking loans. You've mentioned small-sized companies, namely small-sized wine makers. Could you share details about the excise depending on the amount of the wine produced? You see, that was not about the interest rate. The price of the excise stamp is 1 kopeck. But this amount, it is really very small, but this allows to control turnover of the products. The next question. Apart from these state programs, the banks with the big liquidity, do they provide finance or support without state products, or is it too risky now? Nowadays, all processes should be guaranteed, and of course, the banks try to work in the framework of the state guarantees provided at the moment. Of course, private banks have their own programs, but the interest rates are higher. I think this is more the question to the representatives of private banks. Do you have questions in relation to agrarian sector? Like 2-3 questions you can ask now. Temporarily occupied territories, namely the Kherson and Zaporizhia oblasts, which were known for the production of vegetables. Some of the enterprises have moved to Odesa region. Could you share more details about this? As for vegetable producers, no big companies have been relocated to the territories of Odesa region, but we have been considering several investment projects to construct the new processing factory, in particular to process tomatoes. For example, we have Vitmar Agro, who have significantly increased their cultivated areas for tomatoes. Everything which is related to the development and support of the neighboring regions like Kherson, Mykolaiv, and Zaporizhia, because of the significant damage to their irrigation systems. It was fully destroyed in Kherson and Zaporizhia, 65%, and Dnipropetrovsk, around 80%. The only irrigation system which has not been damaged is the irrigation system in the Odesa region. And the Odesa region has been selected as the pilot region to recover and modernize irrigation systems, and we also get state support in this area. Agrarians can feel all these the uses, and they adjust, taking into consideration the demand. If they feel demand for vegetables, for watermelons, Odesa has increased the cultivated areas for their cultures, for example, for tomatoes by 1,000 hectares. And as for watermelons and melons, we have 3.2 thousand hectares for these cultures. And the last question I don't want to ask the last question, so no questions. Alla, I have a question as well. If the agrarian sector suffers the Russia's missile attacks, do you have any support of the enterprises damaged by Russian attacks? The methodology for losses has been developed for the martial law and for the missile attacks. We have the responsible commission in the Odesa region. We have been collecting data, and there is also an awareness-raising campaign for natural entities suffering the Russian aggression. Our lawyers, our department provide advice to all enterprises for them to be able to record all losses properly, to be able to receive reimbursement. Sure thing, there will be liability imposed for all these damages, and Russia will be responsible for every crime on our territory, damaging our legal and natural entities. So now it is difficult to say how many agrarian enterprises and territories have been damaged by missiles. If about Odesa region, I can say about the whole Ukraine, more than 20% of lands of Ukraine have been damaged by the Russian aggression, including the occupied territories, the burned land plots, and also the grain, the agrarian equipment that they have taken from Ukraine. And you know that they also deport our children. As for Odesa region, in two rayons, in two districts, we have two land plots that have been registered as contaminated by dangerous devices. The assessment is ongoing, and by the end of September, we'll be able to share with you detailed numbers. Thank you very much for being with us today. We will continue our work at 2 p.m. and we will discuss fake elections that Russia wants to organize on the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine.